Not yet. Now we're live.
Hopefully y'all catch all of that.
Why is it doing this?
Just do the full screen.
That's what I did, but it's...
Romulus, Remus,
See, now
Romulus,
yeah, preview button. Go live.
Romulus, I'm one who commands, ruling all provinces in my empire. Build aqueducts and say my name's Augustus. It's the Pax Romana. Walk into the forum through the arch made of marble rock. Grand Uncle Caesar joined up with Cleopatra. If he hadn't died on the Ides, he'd see me and he'd say, "Man, that's how I beat Pompey." Armies are obeying me, goods are moving really free. Government's efficient and there's Pax, Latin word for peace. No more of these Punic wars fighting over Sicily. Hannibal crossed the Alps, those Carthage couldn't beat. And Hannibal had elephants. We were a republic, a government run by elected ones who we call representatives. The branch is called the Senate, is controlled by nobles called patricians, but the poor were citizens and workers were called plebeians who chose the citizens assembled. My name's on the calendar. My name's on the calendar. No, for real, look at August. My name's on the calendar. We got concrete to build arch bridges. We got baths where you read and talk business. Build the Colosseum, fill the Colosseum. Get some gladiators, let the lions eat them. You know, the Roman Empire's growing. Got to keep the conquered people from revolting. All of them should know the laws, plebeians and slaves. We'll see them in the forum and say, "Yeah, the 12 tables." I'm one who commands, ruling all provinces in my empire. Build aqueducts and say my name's Augustus. It's the Pax Romana. I'm one who commands, ruling all provinces in my empire. Build aqueducts and say my name's Augustus. It's the Pax Romana. 7 hills help protect us from invasion. Fertile farmlands in the plains of Latium. Volcanoes, they sometimes erupt like Mount Vesuvius. Pompeii was sad, but their soil's rich. The Italian peninsula's on Mediterranean trade routes. You'll see that it's shaped like a boot. My non-citizen soldiers still defend us. Every 5 years we count the people with the census. Your servants, your slaves, your brothers, your babies. We're gonna take a census, so get ready, cause we're counting up the numbers. We do it every 5 years, counting up the numbers. So register, because we're counting up the numbers. People are like, "Oh, you're adopted by Caesar." I'm like, careful, you're talking to an emperor. Caesar was no emperor, he got murdered by senators. At most he was a dictator with only a dictatorship. He gave land to his soldiers to appease them. He had to hand free grain to the citizens. Yeah, he governed Gaul. He crossed the Rubicon to start a civil war, but I've defeated generals. Why'd he make citizens of those not born in Rome? Maybe he was scared there'd be a plebeian revolt. Plebeian revolt. Hey Caesar, were you reading Livy's books too much? Yeah. I'm one who commands, ruling all provinces in my empire. Build aqueducts and say my name's Augustus. It's the Pax Romana. I wear a laurel and robe. It's called the toga, though. I built those Roman roads, and your taxes pay for those. Bad news for you consuls, who made new laws for Rome. All those I can be told, the Republic's days are through. I'm one who commands, ruling all provinces in my empire. Build aqueducts and say my name's Augustus. It's the Pax Romana. Is that a bed sheet you're wearing?
All right. Hey guys.
Here we are, a week late.
We're doing it a week late again. Hopefully next month we'll be on time. It's the Ides of October. You know, those that watch us all the time, you know that the Ides are a time of celebration. It was never a dreary thing, a dreary thing.
Yeah, we started it because we wanted to make the Ides great again, because Shakespeare kind of made it, beware the Ides, and it was the Ides of March when Caesar was murdered, and it's made into a bad time. But actually the Ides, especially in March, was the kind of the New Year celebrations. People forgave debts,
right,
and things like that. It was plantings, it was hope, it was looking into the future. And that's what we're trying to do with these scopes now. And we're on the anniversary of our October last year, when our scope was called
All roads lead to Rome.
And that was a question. And so today our question is, are we the barbarians at the gates?
Right. And so what we're gonna be revisiting that, but we're also going to be revisiting our scope from last month, which was called Inside Baseball. I hope you go back and watch that one. It was a really good one. Inside Baseball, which has to do with, the media narratives and stories that they're telling you, and we want to tie that in. We'll explain more in a minute, but we want you guys to step back from the show that we're watching, because this is a show.
Yeah.
Are you not entertained?
It's a Greek tragedy that we're watching.
Right. And to look at the bigger picture. And then we want to talk, we want people to get out of the mindset that they are trying to lead us in, so that we can defeat them. And we're going to talk about the barbarians that took down the Roman Empire.
Barbarians, quote unquote.
Yeah. Ushering in the so-called Dark Ages, which makes you wonder now, the news is fake, your history is fake, perhaps they'll write about us as barbarians one day. And then we want to talk about Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech. There's something else in that speech. There's a lot more to that people don't talk about, which was just as significant as the military-industrial complex. There was the scientific technological elite he spoke about, which ties into everything today. COVID. And it ties into MIT, Jeffrey Epstein,
Gates, Johns Hopkins, CDC.
Climate change, lots of things. So we're always telling you guys there's nothing new under the sun. And as we research this, God, the synchronicities and we did a stream a few months ago. History doesn't repeat itself. It often rhymes. And that was, some people think that was a Mark Twain quote. Maybe it's not for sure, but maybe it does repeat itself instead of rhyming, actually. Right. So we'll go ahead and get started. And what we're first going to start out with is the all roads. Last year we talked and go back last year. It would have been today's October. 32. It was episode 20. It was October of last year. And we got into, at the end of it, we talked a lot about in the beginning, Comey and Mueller and stuff. And we're going to get into Greek tragedy later, but we have the same characters over and over again, but they have different actors. Yeah, and that scope was like, these the swamp that we have, they didn't just come out of nowhere. They came from a lineage. And I kind of have this theory that you can tie that lineage. I have no facts on that. No. But you could tie that lineage back to Rome. We don't think that Rome actually fell. Right. It just dispersed. They had the families and the leaders of the time. They had their own diaspora. Right. And they scattered, and they've scattered several times throughout the ages. Right. And so we're kind of likening this to a Greek tragedy, and we're getting into irony being used in Greek tragedy and I've got a nice little short thing to show you guys. So there's situational irony when a character or reader expects one thing to happen, but something else entirely happens. We think this is what we're seeing with the whole narrative, the story we're being told, and pitted against each other. And, it's kind of like an elephant, not elephant, but emperor's, the emperor's not wearing fine robes. He's actually naked. Right. And a lot of us more and more are starting to see this. And so a character or reader expects one thing to happen, but something else entirely happens. Verbal irony, when someone says one thing but means another. Isn't that what's being, with the media and entertainment and politicians? Dramatic irony, the contrast between what a character knows and what the audience knows. Greek tragedies use this as for suspense and humor. And one use of irony, a literary technique, it was originally used in Greek tragedy, by which the full significance of a character's words or actions are clear to the audience, but they're although unknown to the character. And the character, we're the audience. We're eating this stuff up. We're being entertained in a way, but we're also sucked in. We're getting angry. We're getting
anxious, fearful. And that's what we want to kind of get ourselves out of. We want to
if
get
you'll
away
look
from
at-
that mindset.
Think of the actors back then. Look at that as being the media, or anybody in front of a camera that's trying to lead you somewhere. And that's kind of how it ties back into Inside Baseball from last, but in those different ironies that they use. And when they say one thing but they mean another, and we all know that when they use words, they're very manipulative. Like they control the language, and they change the definitions of words, and they play you with them. That was part of
and in these
Inside Baseball.
And so we believe that we're watching. We talked about Inside Baseball last week and how they have their own ways of communicating, and it's insular. And we're the aficionados out here, the people that are the political junkies, and we watch it and study it more and more. I think we're getting our discernment skills honed throughout this time, and starting to figure out things on our own. We don't need experts. And in this Greek tragedy, there's drama, which depicts the downfall. This says basically of a good person through some fatal error or misjudgment. And that's what these guys are doing. They're imploding on themselves.
Right.
And Aristotle talked about Greek tragedy and what it was used, and the irony, what the use for it, why they did this. And so the aim is to bring about a catharsis for the audience and arouse sensations of pity and fear, and to purge these emotions, so when they leave the theater cleansed and uplifted with the heightened understanding of the ways of God and man. He said gods and man. I'm saying God and men.
Right.
And what me and Yvonne want to talk to you guys about today is we're watching this Greek tragedy. We don't want to let them invoke or arouse sensations of pity and fear in us. We need to lose that part of it, but keep the next part where we leave the story cleansed and uplifted, and then we have a heightened understanding of the workings of God and man.
Right.
We step back, we get out of the fight, the false binary. And there's so many false binary. The red blue one is the big one right now, and the rich poor and all that.
And actually, what it all boils down to is the divide is between people that are okay with pedophiles and people who aren't.
Yeah.
Like they just purged a bunch of people off of YouTube, like so many accounts, and they say they were purging QAnon accounts, but from what I've seen, there's tons of them that are not QAnon. And so,
well, the media, when they started this, they tried to get Trump to denounce QAnon, and Trump's like, I don't know who QAnon is, and who knows what he probably does, but they're always trying to put people in boxes that when they're not.
Yeah, they find a boogeyman. They find a boogeyman, and if there isn't a boogeyman, they will create the boogeyman.
And then the media's whole fight with Q is it's conspiracy theories about pedophilia. Well, maybe some of it is over the top, but we know this is happening. And why is the media so in YouTube and Twitter, they want to get
all
rid
the
of
social
Q
media?
And I'm not a some people call them cubies and stuff. I'm not. They've had a positive effect on some things, a negative effect on others, because I think it gets people to somebody's got it. We don't have to do anything. I don't like that part of it.
Right, but I think the biggest part of QAnon is that they research things and they investigate things, and they have actually exposed a lot of things.
There's a lot of well-meaning, fired people out there that are seeing stuff, and
as far as a group that needs to be purged, let's talk about Antifa, but priorities. But when we started researching this topic, what we found is when we went back to the days of Rome and we're looking at the different histories of Rome, we start reading about the Vandals and the Visigoths, and the Goths,
the barbarians that were supposedly sacked. They sacked Rome. It was the fall of Rome, and it ushered in what was called the Dark Ages.
Right.
And we're going to show some examples of Visigoths and Vandals and what they were. And you look back. They call the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages, but I think they were using language back then to steer it a certain way because the Romans were going down, and they had to paint these people as pagans and heathens, and they're filthy and dirty. They don't have any. They're coming in. They're plundering, looting. They're killing, raping. They're awful people. But it turns out the Roman The Romans were the decadent ones.
Right. They were the immoral ones. That, you know, it's kind of like our the DC swamp now, how they lie, cheat, and steal, and then when people like MAGA or, you know, some other group is trying to call them out and
Tea
expose
Party
them,
or
they lie. Like they talk about us so horribly. And as we're reading this about those guys, I'm like, it occurred to me, we're the barbarians at the gates, and if the empire is successful, if Biden wins, and then
we will be the Visigoths and the
right,
Vandals.
they will be writing about us like barbarians. So
that's where we have the word vandalism now, from the Vandals, who were pushed into the Roman Empire by so-called barbarians behind them.
Right.
I can't remember the ones we pulled up. There was all the different Goths. There were Visigoths, Ostrogoths. And they ended up forming kingdoms inside the Roman Empire, and they actually started forming. They had their own currency at getting close to what they call the fall. They call Rome falling in the 470s, 480s, right. Something like that.
Here's a short statement on Wikipedia about the Vandals. So they describe the Vandals, and that's where you get the term vandalism from. So they were invaders of Rome, and they vandalized Rome. That's what they would have you believe. They have one small sentence, though, that caught my attention that said, however, some modern historians regard the Vandals in the transitional period from late antiquity to the early Middle Ages as perpetuators, not destroyers of Roman culture. And so then we started looking at illustrations of some of these guys.
And it sounds like that these barbarians was ushered in the Dark Ages, which, what did we get out of the Dark Ages? We got great, beautiful towns and architecture.
Yeah.
We have these cathedrals, and we have music and writings and art, you know, artists doing things that
maybe it was the Dark Ages for the bad guys.
Right. But before they had to disperse.
Just like you have now, you know, with some of our cities, there's so many problems in New York City and Portland. You go out to the country of most of these states where the farmers and the people that, you know, can live off their land, they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
And I think it was the same back then.
Well, and actually there's, you know, historians have said when Rome fell, the Western Empire, the Eastern out of Constantinople was still going. It goes up for another almost that, you know, over 1,000 years. It goes up until 1453. So in the 480s, Rome falls. But for a lot of the people out in the country, inside and out of the cities,
life went on.
Life did not change much for them. They kept on feeding themselves. They probably sold their surplus.
So we saw there's a common theme. And the thing that they had going for them that we do not is most people don't know how to take care of themselves and live off the land. But because of what is going on, people are now learning that and going back to that.
Maybe homesteading is a good thing to do and to get off the government teat.
So that if our currency does crash, or you know a similar, Rome didn't fall in a day. It was a process. So that if America falls,
it's going to be gradual. It's not going to be November 3rd, Trump or Biden wins, and November 4th, there's a civil war.
Right.
That's not going to happen. And all these people that talk, the LARPers, I'm locked and loaded, I'm ready. I said, what, you're just going to kill a bunch of people? No.
Yeah.
You're not going to kill a bunch of people. And you're not going to have to, because it's going to be a gradual thing, and you're going to accept it, or you're going to pull out and pull away and get out of it.
Right. So we wanted to show you a contrast of how, when you go and you look up the Barbarians, the Vandals, what that looks like.
We're going to show some images.
I want to show that, and then I want to show them what Rome looks like, because that's basically
that's true.
Rome.
So here's Alaric.
He was a
Visigoth, and they started having their own currency. They didn't want to take over, and that's another thing. They weren't trying to usurp Roman authority. They enmeshed themselves in it. They became Romans, essentially. And when Rome fell, it was just them finally taking over, and somebody calling themselves Roman were gone. They were very talented.
They look like they're crushing.
Yeah, they do. The men look manly.
They look like toxic masculinity.
And here's a little bit of jewelry from the Visigoths.
Yeah.
I don't see barbarian when I see this craftsmanship.
I see talent. I see skill.
And then we've got an example of a vandal.
Yeah,
That looks like some kind of hero, or he could be in a Marvel movie or something.
I think that the common theme, and when we went back and looked at all of these guys, is it looks like toxic masculinity. It looks like strong men. So if you think about Rome and how we are now, as far just weak men are everywhere.
This guy would be on a city bus today and would be accused of mansplaining for sure.
Manspreading, mansplaining. If he
Here's some Vandal jewelry here too. It's a little simpler, but I mean, this is gold. It's very intricate all throughout the chain links and stuff. That doesn't scream barbarian to me.
Right.
And now we're gonna. I think.
Is there another one? What's that one? That's
the
Never
other
mind.
stuff here.
Okay.
So
now we're gonna show you.
Let's show here's the Romans today. I had a delay. Here's the Romans, guys.
Romans. So think about these guys. Okay, back in the days of Rome, and how corrupt it is now, and how corrupt it must have been then, and you have a bunch of barbarians, supposedly, who were watching it all happen, who say no.
And which what?
I don't think we're going to agree to your.
At this point, I want to go ahead and take on that moniker. I'm a barbarian. I'm a heathen, a pagan.
Like the deplorables.
Yeah.
Deplorables. One day they're going to be writing about the deplorables, and it's going to be this horrible connotation like the barbarians.
Or instead of Vandals and Visigoths, it's going to be there were the Tea Party barbarians, and then they were pushed out by the MAGA barbarians.
Yeah, and then there was the QAnon. But the common theme is we're all barbarians. But that's
Rome right there.
So I thought that was quite the stark contrast on that, and I encourage you to go. There's a good article on earlychurchtext.com. I should have linked to it in the title.
I can find that real quick.
But it's this guy that talks about the barbarians in Rome, and he reflects on why God allowed the barbarian invasions of the Roman Empire. And he puts barbarians in quotations. It's a long article. I'm not going to go into it, but I would encourage you to read it. Because he points out the same things that we're pointing out, that they were calling us barbarians while the Romans were these elites. When it was actually the opposite. I should have put it in the.
I meant to.
I think it's below that.
It's right here. Salvian reflects on.
So if you follow Lou on Twitter, he's fixing to retweet the article.
It's on the scroll down below. Both of our Twitter handles are there.
But it's really good. So we weren't the first persons to come up with this.
I can share it real quick and kind of show them what it looks like.
Yeah.
Did you want to see any of this?
No, because I really didn't have anything summarized. Because
this is a very long.
It's actually not that long. It's not that long.
There's a lot of good stuff in it, though.
But anyway, so as we were researching that, and we were revisiting the idea that the lineage.
So it should be showing up here in just a second.
Okay. On what?
It should be showing up. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm showing this the beginning of it. Original Latin text with English translation. I think that's an important point there, is like getting to the original Latin text, and I'm hoping this is a good translation into English.
Yeah.
Because you're getting the real words straight from when it was written.
Right.
And this guy goes into I can't remember.
And so whenever he wrote this, we're having the same kind of epiphany that this guy had.
And a part of he was complaining kind of and kind of calling out. It's almost like calling to God, why is this happening? And so he's it sounds a lot like Psalms.
Right.
To me.
Yeah, it does. If you read it, it reads a lot like Psalms.
It's coming.
But Rome had become so immoral. God allowed Rome to fall. But where did all those people go? They dispersed into the world. So they dispersed into the world. I liken it to Operation Paperclip. Think about that. Yeah. So Germany you know, Hitler was invading all these different places, and I don't know if he wanted to rule the world or not, but he wanted an empire. And at some point, they all realized and saw the writing on the wall that was not going to happen. These are smart people. So what did they do? They do what they did in Rome is they dispersed
They
and
scattered.
So in America, through Operation Paperclip, you know, supposedly we brought in like 1900, although Lou and I have found that it's probably in the hundreds of thousands.
Because we know of prison camps that were after the war did we ship hundreds of thousands of German soldiers to the Northeast, I think outside of New York and stuff, housed them. And why don't we know? I didn't know about this until a few months ago that we had all these hundreds of thousands of guys in barracks.
Right. So
how many of them went back to Germany?
Right. And then the ones that stayed. So there was the scientists, like all of the really important people that were in the Nazi regime. They came here. And
well, the first head of NASA.
The head of NASA when we went to the moon. Warner von Braun.
This is a nice little meme that just kind of World War II ends. The Nazi scientists, they go in the bushes, they come out, they're NASA.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, the head of NASA was a Nazi scientist.
Yeah.
And a lot of the scientists went on to work at NASA. So in America, we have, you know, it's kind of ironic that they call us Nazis and white supremacists when they brought in the German Nazis and infiltrated them all over our country, and who knows where all they turn up. But
they put a great show trial up of these Nuremberg trials.
Yeah,
and
that was another show.
And they got Goebbels and the big guy, these so-called big guys, but that was a handful of people.
Right.
It took tens of thousands of people to execute whatever the German nation was doing in World War II.
And the fact that America took in so many of those, why have they never had to apologize for that? So as we were researching that, the scientists from Germany, then you start stumbling on, other topics like we're going to go on.
We're going to get into Dwight Eisenhower, Ike. So he's president for 8 years, and in 61, he's in January of 61, he's about to turn the White House over to JFK. Been there 8 years, and he's got this great speech that people go to. Man, he warned us about have a lot of problems with Ike. And they go back into World War II, and a man that never really led men in battle was leading the Allied effort, Supreme Allied Commander in Europe. Meeting with Churchill and Roosevelt all the time. But this guy's in power for 8 years. He's president, and then on the eve of his leaving office,
then he
gives us this and then
brave speech,
this military-industrial complex speech, and it even says it on what Yvonne printed off. It's the military-industrial complex speech, but it's more than that. Why do all the narratives about this story and most of you guys know about this speech? Right. And it's the military-industrial complex. Everybody's used this term, but half of this speech is about the scientific technological elite. And that's where we're at today.
He says, in holding scientific research and discovery and respect, as we should, we must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific technological elite. Now think about that. You think about big tech, there's your technological and the science. It's like science and technology has merged.
We're bludgeoned. We're beat over the head constantly about follow the science, listen to the science. Biden's talking about, I would listen to the scientists.
Right.
Oh, yeah, you would.
Well, we've done that. Trump listened to the scientists and he locked down, and now we've got all this new stuff, and we got federal mask mandates that are probably spreading the virus.
But we look into the past, and it brings it up to today. We've got the CDC, science. Johns Hopkins there's a marriage there out of Atlanta,
right,
with Johns Hopkins and the CDC. We've talked in the past a few episodes ago about the Epidemic Intelligence Service, and they talk about started in 51,
right.
And Dr. Langmuir was talking about.
This is 10 years after.
He's talking about surveillance then,
right?
Before Eisenhower does his, he talks about the technological scientific elite.
Right.
He's talking about the CDC and people. He doesn't mention them, but that's who he's
Right.
talking about. And so these, and then we come up to the present, and you have Epstein and Bill Gates giving all this money to MIT, and that blows. It's gone away.
The biggest story. I mean, the pedophilia is bad enough.
It's bad.
But the bigger story there was the money that Jeffrey Epstein was given to scientists at MIT, Harvard.
Anonymously, so it wouldn't be flagged.
Right, Bill Gates
Him and
was
Gates.
involved. If you remember, Bill Gates denied any involvement until he
'Cause
admitted it.
And what did he say about the universities being taken over? Or you already read that?
Universes.
Being taken over by the federal funding. The federal funding makes it to where
Oh, we face a hostile ideology, global in scope, atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method. Unhappily, the danger it poses promises to be of indefinite duration. Today, the solitary inventor tinkering in his shop has been overshadowed by task forces of scientists in laboratories and testing fields. Weaponized labs, bioweapons labs. In the same fashion, the Free University, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery.
And stop right there. The fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery. What has happened in universities in the last 5, 6, 8, 10 years? Speakers being shut down.
Right.
I tweeted something out the other day. There's a man who is a Nobel Prize winner. I retweeted somebody who was disinvited to a conference he was going to be speaking about a scientific field that he helped create.
Right.
But because he went against the grain on the COVID narrative,
Right.
all these people called in and said, we're not coming if you're going to let him speak. So universities, fountainheads of free ideas, that's gone. That's been gone a long time ago.
And scientific discovery has experienced a revolution in the conduct of research, partly because of the huge cost involved. A government contract becomes virtually a substitute for intellectual curiosity. For every old blackboard, there are now hundreds of new electronic computers. The prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment, project allocations, and the power of money is ever present. Dr. Fauci, the CDC, all of the money, following the COVID brick road. I mean, that's what and he said that is gravely to be regarded. Yeah. Well.
And I still have a problem with Ike because he
couldn't have done that sooner.
And then we don't hear from him again. I don't remember when he ends up.
So the MIT labs, the money that Epstein was giving to all these scientists, the common theme that they have, that they were all researching, is transhumanism, and
they love AI.
They love AI, living forever, being immortal, and another common theme they have is pedophilia. And so Epstein was a pedophile. Bill Gates.
Who knows?
Who knows? But there was that child porn bust of someone who supposedly worked for him. He was at his house, where he had tons of
he had
child
thousands
porn.
of images.
And that case, even though that dude was like a nobody, that case and his files are sealed. So you would think it was Bill Gates they were.
Yeah.
Supposedly it's not connected to Bill Gates, but the files are sealed. So how can we go investigate? And then you have, so going back to the theme of, nothing new under the sun, with these scientists and pedophiles like Marvin Minsky, was he Harvard science?
That was the MIT.
The MIT Media Lab. Oh, the MIT Media Lab goes back to it goes way back.
Yeah.
So you think about the Media Lab. Oh, in the early days of the MIT Media Lab, it was involved with the military Department of Defense. It was like not what it is to now, but it's somehow morphed into. When I see MIT Media Lab, I just think like a psyop machine, propaganda.
Well, they were big.
And Marvin Minsky was the scientist, professor, and co-founder of the MIT lab. He's considered the father of AI. He was a pedophile. He was heavily funded by Jeffrey Epstein.
And Isaac Asimov was a big fan.
Isaac Asimov, he did not like to suffer fools lightly, and thought there were only like 3 people smarter than him, and one of them was Marvin Minsky.
And Isaac Asimov thought he was one of the people in the world who knew everything.
Right. And in that scope, we talked about Isaac Asimov's son, David Asimov, who was busted, the biggest child porn bust in 1998 that had ever happened. And he was treated like Jeffrey Epstein. And guess who was involved with that one?
Good old Bob Mueller.
Yeah, Bob Mueller, because he was the AG and
he was the U.S. attorney out of San Francisco at the time.
Right. And so this child porn bust was so big. It wasn't just child porn that he had possessed child porn. He produced child porn, and he had like a studio in his house. And it took the police 2 days, hours, 2 whole days to go through everything that he had.
They still couldn't watch all of it. There was so much.
Yeah, they still didn't get through all of it.
There was bestiality.
Here's what they said. Anything that you can think of that could be done sexually was in it. And so get this. When I tell you that there's nothing new under the sun, history, doesn't often repeat, but it rhymes. The way that we found out, the way that the authorities found out about Asimov is he took his printer, scanner, and computer to a computer repair shop. And the computer guy saw all this stuff and turned it over.
Same thing with Hunter Biden.
I thought that was crazy.
And this is where we talked about, we're watching a Greek tragedy. And nothing new under the sun. And it's same. The characters don't change. The actors do. The people that play these characters.
Yeah.
That's what changes.
You had Mueller there at the head of that. And you had Mueller, he was the FBI director when the whole Epstein, the first time that he was, that investigation was going on. You have Mueller investigating Trump. It's the same people over and over.
And now we have FBI Director Wray is the one playing this character now. The character
and they've had Hunter Biden for over a year.
All this time. And so
so what happened in that case with Asimov is he's the son of a famous one of the top 3 science fiction writers. And for some reason, the federal authorities swoop in when the police were doing just fine. So Mueller comes in, and strangely enough,
recently appointed by Bill Clinton,
they drop the charges, and they reduce it down to just 1, which I think it was a child.
Well, they got rid of the production stuff and the dissemination of it, and they got rid of the interstate.
The most important part.
The same thing they did for Epstein. Got rid of the interstate stuff. Got rid of the federal charges. And got that to state charges.
They sealed those files just like they sealed the Epstein files.
And he got 6 months probation.
And so he didn't have to register as a sex offender. I don't think
they didn't have
the sex offender registry back then.
But with Epstein, the way they did it, he took some of his victims to New York. He took them to the island.
Right.
But he took them to New Mexico as well. New Mexico, he did not have to register as a sex offender. Now, New Mexico is interesting enough that one of Bill Clinton's cabinet members was New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson.
Well,
he was also accused in the Epstein stuff. So maybe that was his pull, because they call it in that area they call it the Arizona Mafia.
Oh well, in the Asimov case, the judge nominated that was taking care of this case was nominated by Dianne Feinstein. So you see all the players, the Club of Rome.
And that would have been Bill Clinton on. Yep. Same thing with Mueller that was his first really rise to fame in the federal government as being U.S. attorney under Bill Clinton. So all this same stuff with Comey in his past. We've got, when they were doing the Russia, Mueller, he's lifelong Republican, man of integrity. Oh, really?
Right.
That tells you what
they create that myth.
If he is a Republican, that tells you how good the golf is too. The GOP is just as bad as the elephants are just as bad as the donkeys.
They're playing their role. It's a show, and they're entertaining you. But Asimov ended up getting off 6 months probation. The one thing that when you go and investigate this case that's interesting to me is You will not find an adult picture of David Asimov. So think about this. In 1998, biggest child porn bust ever, child porn distribution. Mueller, for some reason, gets involved, and it's my contention, just like with Epstein, that they wanted to cover up and shut down what was going. Because think about back then, that was in the beginning of computer, like, you know, it wasn't like it is now. You know, not everybody had a computer, and so, you know, people who are into child porn would know about this. And I've always wondered, like, what higher ups, what VIPs would be implicated if that investigation wasn't shut down. So you don't know what he looks like. He was described short. I remember somebody saying short, dark hair, overweight,
thick mustache.
You know, your typical pedo type look. But you will not find a picture of David Asimov as an adult. And because he didn't have to register as a sex offender and he didn't serve any time in prison, you know, the question I would ask is, where is he now?
And how many more victims came out of that?
So his dad, so Isaac Asimov was, you know, I know Lou read a lot of his books. I'm not really a big sci-fi person, but he wrote a book called The Naked Sun. Isaac Asimov did. And touching on our themes
this
about
book is Nothing New Under the Sun.
Nothing New Under the Sun, and also about the scientists and how
they think the world should look and be, how it should.
Well, think about what's his name? Eisenhower warning us about the scientific technological elite. So think about that when I'm reading you the plot line of this. So it's a novel. It's from the Robot series. You know, he wrote I, Robot. So the story arises from the murder of Ricaine Del Mar, a prominent fetologist, which is a fetal scientist, responsible for the operation of the Planetary Birthing Center of Solaria, a planet politically hostile to Earth, whose death Elijah Bailey is called to investigate at the request of the Solarian government. He is again partnered with the humanoid robot Daniel Olival and asked by the Earth's government to assess the Solarian society for weakness. But the interesting thing about the plot is they live in a time where people don't interact with each other.
There's only 20,000 people in a very big geographical area. They keep the population regulated.
All the work is done by robots, which outnumber humans 10,000 to 1, and people are taught from birth to avoid personal contact and live on huge work estates, either alone or with their spouse only. Face-to-face interaction is referred to as seeing is discouraged, and especially impregnating women, that's seen as a nasty chore. But reading through the plot of this, you get to social distancing. Asimov portrays The Naked Sun, a world focused on avoiding contact with other people. They use social distancing and interact with each other largely through technology. They live far from each other, spread out across the sparsely populated planet, and communication is frequent, but it is viewing of a transmitted image. But to make a long story short on that, I just found it interesting that the idea of social distancing was in that in one of his books. He's the father of David Asimov, who was like the big child porn bust in 1998, covered up by Robert Mueller. Then you go back to Eisenhower, who warned us about the scientific, that the public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific technological elite. Go to Dr. Fauci and what he's done with all these, the mask mandates.
And he's all of a sudden a star. He's doing all the interviews.
And it just makes me wonder, did they read like a scientific novel and go, hey, this.
And remember, what was that Asimov said in an interview? The most irritating people are the people who think they know everything. Those are the most irritating to the people like him who do know everything.
Right.
And so these are the type of people. And
these are the scientists.
I wonder if Dr. Langmuir over at the CDC with the Epidemic Health Service, I wonder if he was one of these people.
He seemed like it. All these people seem like it.
And that's, you get into the Tuskegee experiments, and that went on for 4 decades.
That was actually started before Eisenhower warned about the scientific technological elite.
Oh, way before. It was started before. It was in the 30s. It was before World War II.
And then it ended at 72. So that was going on.
We've had Bill Clinton apologize about it. We've had Obama apologize to the Guatemalans about it because we did it. We just found out in our previous
Oh yeah,
about that they did it to Guatemala too. We were like, what?
Right.
We've only heard about Tuskegee.
Right. We found out about a lot of scientific experiments they've done on the people.
So
Tuskegee is one of many.
So you look at this whole Greek tragedy, and I'm even going to throw in. They talked about Camelot, and they raised JFK and his wife and on a pedestal, and they were only there for about a year and a half before he was assassinated.
And it's all part of this show.
And so, like Aristotle said, and I want to read this one more time, and because there's good in this, and then there's bad. But the aim in a Greek tragedy is to bring about a catharsis for the audience and arouse sensations of pity and fear, and to purge the emotions so that the audience leaves the theater cleansed and uplifted, with a heightened understanding of the ways of God and man. What me and Yvonne want to encourage people to do is to still, you're going to be seeing this Greek tragedy, but get rid of the sensations of pity and fear.
Right.
Pity for the media, whoever is going, they are choosing their way. Get rid of the pity and fear, but leave or sit back and get in a different mindset and be cleansed and uplifted, and get with God and with a heightened understanding of the ways of God and men.
Right.
And this is men and women. There are men and women. So step back, get in a different mindset, and kind of,
as you watch this tragedy,
not so much enjoy, but kind of enjoy some of it, because some of these people are making fools of themselves.
Right.
They don't know it.
They don't know. So they're playing their role, but it's kind of like the emperor wears no clothes. They don't see what we see. They don't really know and understand the moment that we're in. And
no matter what happens, we are all the kid in the audience when the emperor's naked and he's dancing around, because everybody around, they do this for each other. All the media and the politicians and the entertainment, they tell each other that they're wearing fine robes. All of us are that kid in the audience yelling, he doesn't have any clothes on.
Right.
But there's more and more every day. There's more and more of us going,
right,
wait a minute, those guys are naked.
And Frank Luntz is a big, is a big example of that. Like, he's been outed and exposed on the Hunter Biden emails.
And he doubles down on the script.
Right.
Because that's all he knows.
That's all he knows.
He's in the tragedy.
Right.
We're out. If we step back and get the right mindset, we're out of it. We're watching and going, are you kidding me?
Yeah. And if you can disconnect from the idea that, okay, if we do fall, or New York City falls or somewhere else falls, it's not the end of the world. We can unplug from the matrix. We can grow our own food. We don't have to listen to the scientific, technological elite who think they know better. And that's what we want you guys to take away from this. We talked about how all roads lead to Rome, and perhaps we're the barbarians.
When last year when we did the all roads lead to Rome, that was a question. Do all roads lead to Rome? And we did the question today, are we the barbarians of the gate? And at the end of that scope from last year, episode 20, we brought up the Club of Rome. Yeah. And there were some interesting things in there. They did all these predictions. It was a bunch of academicians. It was teachers, professors, some more elite.
Right.
And I've said it before. Us out here, people growing the crops, driving trucks, delivering things, plumbers, electricians, people doing the work that keeps society going. Those are the real elites. But in this Club of Rome, they met and they did these great studies, and they figured, they think they have everything figured out. We were going to have peak resources. We're going to hit in the early 2000s. This year, we're supposed to start running out of food.
Right.
Now we're not. There are disruptions because of all the stupid responses to whatever COVID is supposed to be.
Right.
So there are disruptions, and it's a mess. And the food that we're being fed is not the best, but there's plenty of it. So they've always put out the scarcity thing. They use the climate change about we're going to run out of oil. I mean, we were supposed to run out of oil decades ago.
Oh yeah, peak oil.
Yeah, and now old oil wells that were abandoned decades ago are pumping again because
Right.
now that the oil is back. Where does that come from? It's not decayed dinosaur bones, that's for sure.
If you want to fall down a rabbit hole, research
Yeah.
the Club of Rome. But it's that big club, and we ain't in it. But you know what? I don't want to be in it.
But another great thing with they have all these these people that do all this. The Club of Rome, the Epsteins, the Gateses, and all these. They have stuff that they
The
want.
Bilderbergs,
They want to do, but they're so inept that they can't even, even with all the power that they think they have and control they think they have, they can't get. They luck up sometimes,
right,
when things happen with what they're trying to do. But most of the time, they're inept too, because we talked about it. Yvonne had the example of going before a county commission and getting something stopped.
Yeah,
with only just a few people. They
fall apart when you
confront, when you push back,
and it's easy to strategize against them because they're really not that bright.
They're not based. They don't have logos. They don't have a base of with God and
right. It's just all power,
and morality,
and
even
money.
They lack logic. It's just they keep firing away, and that's why all their stuff's misfiring right now. And I think these are very interesting times. It's November 3rd. And this I was telling my wife earlier today. We're having to get a transaction closed, and it keeps getting delayed for different reasons. And she's worried about, I want to get this done before the election and everything falls apart. And I'm like, you know what? It's not going to be that way. There's going to be some scary scenes supposedly that they project,
right?
No matter who wins. But November 4th, it's going to be Wednesday,
right?
2020. So it's going to be another day,
right?
And a lot of people are just going to be going about their lives. There's going to be some stupid antics going on, but it's going to be like the fall of Rome. They call it 476 or 480 something,
yeah.
AD, but it was gradual. Rome fell before the date that they
right.
put out there. Rome was already falling. Those guys a bunch of them were probably already gone.
They didn't fall because of the barbarians or the Vandals, and they fell because of their own decadence and their own love of themselves.
Because even when the Vandals and the Visigoths were inside the empire, they were being absorbed, and they were in the armies and they were in the administration. They started forming their own currencies,
right?
But they did not assert. They did not want to overtake what for us would be the federal currency. Currency for us would be barter and trade.
Right.
Hey, I'm going to do this for you. Can I get some of your eggs or something
yeah.
like that? So they weren't trying to usurp the Roman. They wanted to keep the overall thing going, but they were going to be free because they had their own currency. I think that's why they had to be. One of the reasons they had to be branded as barbarians.
Right.
They ushered in the Dark Ages. And it was a bad time.
Yeah, they were going against empire mainly, though, just kind of like we are, which brings us back to our point. Are we the barbarians? Is the history, 50 years from now when people are talking.
500 years from now.
They're talking about and all we're dead. We're not here
yeah.
to speak for ourselves. And they start calling us these whatever negative connotations they can associate with MAGA or
yeah.
QAnon or the Tea Party or whoever that goes against the power structure. You're basically the barbarians. And
even 500 years from now, they may be talking about us. And I believe there might be a 500 years from now. People talk about Armageddon and stuff,
yeah.
and we've done some great streams about what
apocalypse
really means. It's an awakening, an unveiling. So people talk about end times. Yvonne mentioned earlier today, people are born, they see the world through the prism of the time they've been on the earth,
right?
And conscious. So, you get into 6, 7, 8 years old, and you have memories from those times.
Right.
I remember from when I was born in 67. So people only have that
right
frame of reference, and actually it goes back way further. That's why we want to step back and see the whole picture.
Right.
And start trying to decipher that whole picture.
And watch this as the Greek tragedy or Roman tragedy of the fall of Rome, and that it never fell. It never fell, and that's where we got. I wonder sometimes if the corrupt people from the Roman times and other times were they the children of the serpent?
Yeah.
We're fighting this spiritual battle right now, and the powers that be, when they talk about us in the media, they basically call us barbarians. They write negative things, and
They
we're
don't-
just
they don't-
God-fearing,
They
loving.
don't argue what we're saying. They argue
Right.
about what we are. They try to define what we are.
Right. Don't talk about what's in Hunter Biden's laptop. Talk about the people that the shop owner. Why did he do it?
Yeah.
Who's paying him? They try to distract. So we want you to just kind of step back and look at the headlines, because the headlines don't match the
And then
stories.
speaking of headlines, I want to show you a couple more images before we close here. So here's where we're at today.
Yeah.
So this is okay.
All right. In an enclosed capsule, sitting on top of your fellow man, but you can't be in this huge
Don't
sanctuary.
do this. And so then we go, when we talk about media and headlines and stories, and this is a great meme here. I don't know if you can read this, guys, but it's kind of like with the constant Trump-Russia collusion. Sources say, when the media does stories, it's sources say, 3 sources close to the president,
Yeah.
all this, and actually, ironically, the Hunter Biden, there's a whistleblower.
Mhm.
We know his name. He's come out. He's done
Right.
He's public.
He's
he just started a Twitter account.
Right.
All the whistleblowers with Trump are anonymous.
Right.
Now, some of them have been kind of found out, but they're anonymous and they hide behind, oh, we got to protect him.
Right.
Why does he not have to be protected? The
Right.
Hunter one.
So
He's
remember,
out there.
when you're reading stories and you think about the scientific, technological elite, when you read some of these articles, new studies show,
In a study, 2 new studies.
peer-reviewed.
But they have qualifiers in there. When you read the whole story instead of a headline, you'll see qualifiers. Study may explain.
Right.
Studies suggest. Research suggest. New studies show. And what are these? And you can go down a rabbit hole of what peer review is.
Right.
Because peer review is no longer what
Yeah.
it used to be.
Well,
It's just people agreeing that, oh, yeah, that's how I see the world.
right.
Let's send this up. So even that is...
Well, their sugar daddy thought it was a good idea, so we're going to say that it was.
Well, the main sugar daddy is the federal government. All
Right.
these universities depend on all these grants to keep going.
Right. So we want you to, like Lou said, we want you to leave these scopes cleansed and uplifted with a heightened understanding of the ways of God and men. We are in spiritual battle. We'll be back next month on the 13th, but we want to close out on an interesting Bible verse. I had not read
a short
this.
Bible verse, and I have read this chapter. It's Matthew chapter 10. It's verse. Well, I had it queued up.
Is it at 30 something? I have not come to 35. Oh shoot!
Right here, 34.
Okay.
So it's Matthew 10, verse 34. It's 2 sentences, and this is Jesus talking, I think, to his disciples.
Yeah.
He says, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword." And that was just really profound to me. And he's talking about going out and teaching the word and believing in him. He's come to cleanse the world.
He often says that the word's more powerful than the sword.
Yeah.
But I love that.
And whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me.
Spiritual battle.
And at the end of this chapter, the one who receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And the one who receives a righteous person because he is a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. And whoever gives one of these little ones even a cup of cold water because he is a disciple, truly I say to you, he will by no means lose his reward.
Yeah.
But that struck me. Do not believe that I have come to bring peace. And because in this world it's fallen, and the people who are at peace with the way this world is are in trouble.
Right.
So when I'm not saying fear, but when you are uncomfortable and kind of agitated and you're thinking this is not right, you're in a better place. So
Right.
when things are uncomfortable, I think you should be heartened, because that means you're being tested and you are worthy of being tested.
Right.
And you're looking for good things ahead, because it's like a callus on a hand when you play guitar or something. It's just these things make you stronger for what you have to do later.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah. So I don't know if we can't always do these right on the Ides anymore because of my new schedule
Yeah,
with my new job, but
we'll see.
we'll see what happens.
All right.
We'll still do them once a month, and appreciate all that who came, and please retweet us and get this. We think it's a good message. So
Yeah.
let some other people enjoy it.
All right. See you
Thanks,
next time.
guys.